Hi everyone, this is Veronica. Today our topic of discussion is about various epidemics in India which took place since 1900. We'll discuss them in detail because right now the pandemic, coronavirus is going on. Coronavirus outbreak is there. So we'll discuss about these earlier epidemics also. For my video updates and queries, you can connect with me on Instagram and Facebook because I feel together we can make a difference. Now see what is the relevance of this topic in your exams. It will be covered in your mains paper 2, health and education. At objective level, you should know about various diseases which I'll mention in the coming lecture. And at subjective level, you should know about epidemics and how we can contain them or how previously they were contained. So what is the context of today's lecture? See, although our country has actually witnessed lot of illnesses and virus outbreaks in various parts of the country, even in 2002 and 3 SARS outbreak between 2002 to 2004, you have seen the statistics around it, and since the 1990s they were nowhere as widespread as COVID-19, because right now this coronavirus outbreak is the most widespread ever. So that has now reached almost every part of the country and almost every country in the world. So among other causes, mass travel has contributed to the rapid and more frequent spread of viruses around the world in an unprecedented way. So talking about what is an epidemic, before that let me tell you, if you have not subscribed to our channel, you can subscribe so that you do not miss any important video update. Okay, now here talking about what is an epidemic. See, the World Health Organization, they define epidemics as the occurrence in a community or region of cases of an illness which are specific health-related behavior or other health-related events clearly in excess of normal expectancy. That means whatever normally you are expecting a disease to how it should outbreak, but there is always more to it. So that is an epidemic, and it is among a community or a region. So the community or region and the period in which the cases occur are actually specified very, very precisely. So the number of cases that indicate the presence of an epidemic, they varies according to it can vary according to the agent, size, type of population exposed, and previous experience or lack of exposure to the disease also. Like many Indian citizens born at the start of 21st century, they have not fully witnessed or experienced circumstances surrounding the mass outbreak of epidemics in the country. And for many, the challenges which are brought now by the spread of COVID-19 is unknown territory. So this is not to say, however, that as a nation, India is completely unfamiliar with dealing with epidemics and public health crisis. So, that is why here our government is taking very much proactive steps. Like Mumbai is totally in a lockdown position right now, and almost all of the India is in semi-lockdown monitoring right now. Okay, so we'll discuss about these. So the first in our list is Encephalitis lethargica. So this was between 1915 to 1926. Encephalitis lethargica, it is also known as lethargic encephalitis. It is a type of epidemic encephalitis. It spread around the world between 1915 and 1926, as I told you. So this disease was characterized by increasing apathy. People would turn apathetic towards each other. They won't have any love for each other. They will turn apathetic. There will be drowsiness and lethargy. And by 1919, it has spread across whole of Europe, US, Canada, Central America, and even in India. It is also known as encephalitis A or economoencephalitis or disease. See, in Europe there was huge outbreak, but at that time in India it was still sporadic. So this virus, accordingly, it appeared to be spread through nasal or oral secretions, and approximately 1.5 million people are believed to have died due to this illness. Next is your Spanish flu. Mahipal sir has made a separate video on Spanish flu also because it is one of the most dangerous. So the time period is 1980 to 1920. So we'll discuss this in briefly. So before most of the world, they have recovered from the spread of Encephalitis lethargica. This was a new virus that contend with Spanish flu. So this epidemic was viral infectious disease which was caused due to a deadly strain of avian influenza. So there was a strain of avian influenza. So the spread of this virus was largely due to World War I, that despite drawing to a close by the time that epidemic had peaked actually at that time. So there are contradicting reports concerning the total number of fatalities caused by this disease around the world, but researchers say that the death toll was significantly more than 50 million people, and India only 10 to 20 million people died due to Spanish flu that was brought to the region by a century ago by Indian soldiers who were part of the war. So during this pandemic, however, records show that word spread of dangers of the disease through official government channels as well, and people were maintaining social distancing at that time also. So this was about Spanish flu. Another was cholera pandemic. It was between 1961 to 1975. So here the Vibrio cholera is one of the bacterium which caused the 7 cholera pandemic since 1817. So this one in 1961 was the 7th one. So here the strain of Vibrio cholera bacterium, it caused the 7th cholera pandemic. It was identified having emerged in, there was an area in Indonesia known as Makassar. So it originated there. So in a span of less than 5 years, this virus spread to other parts of Southeast Asia and South Asia, having reached in the area where today you see Bangladesh, and then in India, right? So in India, researchers have observed in academic papers that Kolkata's climate and location in the Gangetic Delta, including your poor practices in water sanitation, make the city a hotbed for cholera, and this pandemic was no different. And by that time, the number of reported cases around the world, they totaled around 5,70,000. Next is your flu pandemic. So here the time period was 1968 to 1969. The flu pandemic was caused by, remember the strain H3N2. This was again influenza A virus and appears to have emerged in Hong Kong in July 1968. So it did not take much time for the virus to spread around the world. Like soon after the discovery and the presence of virus in Hong Kong, by the end of July, it was spreading to Vietnam and Singapore also. And in 2 months, it spread to Philippines, India, Australia and parts of Europe. At that time, American soldiers were returning from Vietnam after the Vietnam War in September 1968. So this brought this virus to US also, with the first few cases having been detected in California. So this virus also killed around 1 million people. Now next is your smallpox epidemic. It started in 1974. So according to WHO, smallpox was officially eradicated in 1980, that you should remember. The infectious disease was caused either by 2 virus variants. So these 2 variants were variola major, variola. Although the origins of the disease are totally unknown, but we have seen that it appears to have existed in the 3rd century BC. This disease has history of occurring in outbreaks around the world, and it is not clear when it was first observed in India. So by 1950, the World Health Organization had begun laying plans for mass eradication campaign of smallpox around the world, and despite the costs and ambitious plans, global support. So in case of this smallpox, what happened, like by 1950, the World Health Organization, they have begun laying plans for mass eradication campaign of smallpox around the world, and despite the cost and ambitious plan, global support for this campaign had actually increased. So according to this University of Michigan, if you see, in 1960s, 60% of smallpox cases in the world were reported in India, and in this strain of virus, it appeared to be more virulent than that which was found in West Africa. So given the concerning situation, India actually launched some campaigns, but they were not so successful. Then by 1966, although the disease had eradicated it was eradicated in almost 22 countries, it was still endemic in several other developing nations, including our Indian subcontinent, Indonesia and Brazil. So this disease resulted in death of millions of people around the world in 20th century alone, and countless more since it was first recorded. So between 1972 to 1975, the WHO, along with medical assistance provided by Soviet Union, specifically its supply of millions of doses of freeze-dried smallpox vaccine to India they sent, it helped administer smallpox vaccine across the country, and independent investigations revealed that India was free from smallpox in March 1977. Okay, so this was about smallpox. Next is about plague in Surat. So this was 1994. In September 1994, this pneumonic plague, it hit Surat, causing people to flee the city in large numbers. And then rumors and misinformation led to people hoarding very much essential supplies. And same is happening during COVID-19 also, which is not good. And there was widespread panic also. This mass migration actually contributed to the spread of the disease, but the cases were like open drains, unsanitary garbage disposal, unclean distribution of piped water, dead rats lying in the open drains, all collectively contributed to the plague outbreak in the city, and it had not been built for the migrant population living within its growing confines. So following the outbreak, the local Surat government was jolted into clearing up garbage and closing drains, and they managed to control the situation within the weeks. However, the mismanagement of the city went back to its way it was soon or after. Next outbreak was of SARS, that is severe acute respiratory syndrome. So it was first severe and readily transmissible new disease to have emerged in 21st century. In April 2003, India recorded first case. Similar to COVID-19, the causative agent of SARS, you should remember, is the one of the type of the coronavirus. So this virus, SARS coronavirus, it was known for frequent mutations, and it spread through close person-to-person contact, for example, through coughing and sneezing by infected people. So in the 2 years in total, 3 cases of SARS were recorded in India. The virus had managed to spread to at least 30 countries around the world, although it did not affect India much at that time. Then talking about 2006, we have seen dengue and chikungunya outbreaks. Several states in India reported much outbreaks during the time 2006. All the states almost were affected, and at least 50 people died that year due to dengue. Next is Gujarat hepatitis outbreak. In February 2009, reports emerged approximately 125 people, Madosa, Gujarat, they were infected with hepatitis B, and it affected their liver directly. So this disease caused due to transmission of infected blood, other body fluids. Local doctors even said they were suspecting that treatments of patients with used and contaminated syringes might have taken place. So the Gujarat government set up public initiatives to increase awareness of the disease as well as the mass immunization under state medical authorities. Next is your Odisha jaundice outbreak. This time was 2014-2015. So several towns in Odisha, they witnessed outbreak of jaundice, and within 3 months, at least 6 people had died and more than 670 cases of jaundice had been reported in the town. Investigators concluded that drain water had possibly seeped through pipelines for drinking water, contaminating hundreds of people, and by February 2015, the contamination of water had reached the neighboring towns and districts also. So, closely the official death toll according to Odisha state government was 36, but researchers estimated it to be higher, closer to 50. Then we have seen swine flu outbreak. It was also one of the very dangerous 2014-2015. So in the last few months, reports emerged the outbreak of this virus was your H1N1 virus, one of the type of influenza. It affected states like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Delhi, Maharashtra, Telangana. They were the worst affected one. And by March 2015, according to India's Health Ministry, approximately 33,000 cases had been reported across the country and 2,000 people died because of the swine flu. Next is your encephalitis outbreak 2017 that you have seen in Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh, right? So it witnessed an increase in number of cases where children were affected and they died because of encephalitis, Japanese encephalitis, and also your acute encephalitis syndrome. The main reason was because of the mosquito bites. Both are viral infection that cause inflammation of the brain, leaving the people paralyzed, or it even resulted in the death. So this outbreak in Gorakhpur was attributed to lack of cleanliness and sanitation. So one common thing that you're noticing about all the outbreaks, most of them at least, is the problem of cleanliness, basic hygiene and sanitation, right? So further compounding the problem, in the state run hospital, that time oxygen supplies were cut off by the supplier due to non-payment of dues. So it led to deaths of several children, and by 2017 more than 1,300 children had died. And last is your Nipah virus outbreak that was in 2018. In May 2018, a viral infection attributed to fruit bats. So in the picture you can see the carrier was a fruit bat. So Nipah virus had caused illness and deaths. Within days of medical practitioners confirming the outbreak of the virus, the Kerala government, because it was an epidemic in Kerala especially, the government stepped in to implement several protectionary measures to contain the spread of the virus and to initiate information sharing drives with the public. So the spread of outbreak remained largely within the state of Kerala due to the efforts by the local government and leaders. These measures included issuing travel advisories, the establishment of medical facilities, etc. So the outbreak was declared to have been completely contained after some time, right? So this was good because the government was proactive, it took good steps. So this is all about all these epidemics since 1900. Hope including COVID-19 now you know about all of them. So if you have any queries, you can contact me on social media, and the PDF of this lecture will be uploaded on my Telegram, that is t.me/Veronica_Om. Thank you.